All right, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Serafina Smith. I'm currently an assistant dean at the School of Environmental and Biological Sciences, and we appreciate you joining us today for our presentation and webinar, live webinar, where you'll have the opportunity to meet with and speak to faculty members from the animal science, biochemistry, agriculture and food systems, and plant biology programs. Before we get started, I just want to give you a quick overview of what you'll be hearing and learning about today. You will be hearing from all four of our faculty members from the respective programs that we have listed here on this slide. And you'll also get the opportunity to chat with us, with myself, and I have two representatives from the Office of Academic Programs, Dean Charisse Richardson and Dean Julie Traxler, who will be live and chatting with you. So if you have any questions throughout the presentation, feel free to ask questions through the chat box. We are going to be answering them live, anything regarding and pertaining to our majors, to the School of Environmental and Biological Sciences, and any questions that you may have about Rutgers University, New Brunswick, and enrolling into the institution. So without further ado, I'm going to pass the baton over to Dr. Zama, who is our program director from the Animal Science program. She'll be providing you with a quick overview of her major, and then we will be moving towards our biochemistry program director, Dr. Lori White. But without further ado, here's Dr. Zama. Dr. Zama, you're muted currently.
Hello again. This is Aparna Zama from Animal Science. The Animal Science program is one of the largest programs on the Rutgers SEBS campus. So we have 5 different tracks or options within animal science. A large number of our animal science students want to go to vet school, so they take the pre-vet medicine and research track. But there are other students who want to work with animals, but not necessarily go into veterinary related careers. And the other options for those students are the companion animal science option, equine science option, production animal science option, and lab animal science option. The details for all these different options and the type of courses that are to be taken are listed on our website. Important to note is that everybody takes a set of core animal science classes like nutrition, reproduction, physiology, genetics, etc. And then depending on the option that they choose, they will take specific required courses and electives. So the second point I want to make is that animal science is a vast field. Like we have the different options. We go from everything working with production animals, meaning livestock species like cows and goats and sheep and poultry and so on and so forth, down to working with mice and rats and small mammals, as with lab animal science. So the breadth, width, and depth of the animal science field is quite vast. So people sometimes wonder what kind of careers are out there. And so I have the next slide about the different types of careers that animal science students graduate and then enter these various careers. These are some of the jobs that our alumni are currently in. We actually have a course called Careers in Animal Science, and we actually go over some of these career tracks with our students on that. So that's separate from the point I'm trying to make here, which is that animal science related careers are varied. There's a diversity of those. You could start off with the veterinary profession, or be involved in zoological parks or conservation, or going to animal assisted therapy, or the pet food or pet care industry, or you could go into graduate school and get your master's or PhD in various fields, or enter the federal government or the biotech or the pharmaceutical industry. So the choices are numerous about what students can do after they graduate with a Bachelor of Science in Animal Science. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Dr. Zama. And so we'll be moving along to Dr. Lori White, who will be talking to you about the biochemistry major.
Hi. So biochemistry major at SEBS. I'm the program director, Dr. Lori White, and our major is, like Dr. Zarmas, though nowhere near as big as animal science, one of the larger majors at SEBS. And of course, a lot of the reasons why is because many of the students that take this major have future plans to go into medicine, go into graduate school, work in the pharmaceutical industry in New Jersey. So it's got a fairly good, solid career base. We've recently, I've just put up our learning goals. And I just kind of, we can read them off. I'm not going to read them off, but basically the goal of our major is to ensure that when people graduate, they understand the basics of biochemistry. And this includes things like metabolism, enzyme structure and function, as well as the regulation of gene and protein expression. We also want to make sure that students know how to use what they learn. So we do spend a good amount of our major working on the application of the scientific method, how to state and test a hypothesis, how to design experiments and carry them out. Another large part of our major is to ensure that when students graduate, they are scientifically thinking people, meaning that they, regardless of what they choose to do in their career, they're capable and able to look at scientific literature and understand what's going on and be able to evaluate whether something makes sense or doesn't make sense. And also that they're able to convey this in an oral and in written format, because one of the jokes I usually make when I do this in person is that, people always think of scientists as being, sort of like, the Sheldon Coopers, from Big Bang Theory. But the reality is science is a collaborative field, and we often have to talk with other scientists in other fields. We have to be able to cross different barriers. We also have to be able to explain what we do in order to get our research funding, and also for us to be able to communicate with people outside of our fields. And so communication is a really big part. And in the end, we also want to make sure that our students are ethical. So we spend some time working on ethical and current issues in biochemistry and how that impacts the scientific field. I had a few more pictures up here, but they got kind of cropped out. And I just kind of wanted to point out that biochemistry is sort of the sublayer of many different sort of areas. So the pictures that made the cut is just, one is our students in the teaching lab. We have a 2-semester teaching lab. The first semester where students learn basic concepts, the second where they learn to apply them and do hypothesis testing experiments. But the other point is that biochemistry is very broad. Many of our students end up doing environmental field testing, which is shown in the picture above. Some students go to work in labs, so sort of like medically based labs. And there's a picture off to the side that you can't see that has students working in sterile cell culture, and then those are some of the cells they're looking at. But the reality is that most disciplines, we cross over into medicine, we cross over into pharmaceutical development, toxicology. And so our students often go into a variety of different fields when they graduate. So I'd be happy. We also have some tracks. I didn't want to take up much more time though. So if people have specific questions, I'd be really happy to answer them. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Dr. White. And Dean Traxler has been very gracious to put the links to the department on the chat. So everyone feel free, you can read and learn more about the programs and the majors and see more of the amazing pictures and students and all the hands-on experiences that our students engage in within these programs. But without further ado, I'd love to pass the baton to Dr. Morin, who will talk to you about the Agriculture and Food Systems major at Rutgers.
Thank you, Serafina. Hello, everyone. My name is Zania Morin, and I'm the undergraduate program director for the Agriculture and Food Systems program. Serafina, could you move the slide to the next one, please? I want to thank all of you for joining us today, and whether you are looking at other majors or this major, there's a place for agriculture and food systems in your future, whether it's taking an introductory course or not. So the Agriculture and Food Systems major is one of 2 programs at the School of Environmental and Biological Sciences that is interdisciplinary. And by that, we mean that you might be taking a class or 2 in animal science. If you are really interested in biochemistry, you could also do that. But plant science and animal science are two of the departments that we often partner with, and you'll be hearing about plant science in a minute. We also have economics requirement within our program. One of the things that we emphasize is that we take a systems approach. And by that, I mean that we're looking at the interconnectivity of different elements of our food system from the field all the way through to how consumers buy food and consume food, as well as food waste. We look at the health implications, we look at the economic implications, we try to understand how policy impacts what we do. For some of our students, they're very interested in producing food, and we have courses in combination with either animal science or plant science, where people learn to produce our food animals or our plants that we eat, and in particular with a focus on fruits and vegetables. Some of our students also work on hazelnuts, which is a nut crop that is new to New Jersey. The agriculture and food systems major can be combined with a few other majors to create dual majors. The minor can also be combined with other majors as well. We have a fair number of transfer students. Those who started in community college come join us, as well as first-year students and others later in their career who suddenly realize that agriculture and food systems program is for them. Another option that we have within the agriculture and food systems program is an agricultural science education option. Many people aren't aware of teaching as a future career, but there's a shortage of ag teachers in the state and nearby states, and Tom Lustek is the advisor for that. So if you wish to learn more, you can go to our teachag.rutgers.edu website. Like animal science, we have a careers course now that helps to explain different courses that people can undertake after getting this degree. And I'd be happy to talk more about that if people are interested. So I'm here to answer your questions, and I thank you for listening. So Serafina, back to you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Warren. And then last but definitely not least, I'd like to introduce Dr. Ann Gould, who is the undergraduate program director in plant sciences, and she'll talk to you a little bit more about the plant biology program and the major options.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to our webinar this afternoon. Plants are important, and the interesting thing about plants at Rutgers is that our students don't understand how really terrific they are until they get here and they take their first class that has something to do with plants. You know, they play a major role in every aspect of our lives. They produce oxygen and food and fuel. They're lovely to look at, and they're also a source of natural products. Plant science is supported by the Department of Plant Biology that has 50 faculty that work in research, teaching, and extension in a bunch of different areas, including plant physiology, cell biology, molecular biology, genetics, the study of plant disease and horticulture, biofuels, pharmaceuticals, and the turfgrass industry. We have a single major in plant science that has 3 options, and they're listed here on the slide. The first general option is for students who are interested in careers in research or graduate study. This option includes plant science fundamental courses that I'll talk about in a second, and is also pretty heavy in STEM. So students in this particular option are very well prepared for graduate school if they decide to go that direction. The horticulture and turfgrass industry major option is our applied major. These students go on to work in some aspect of the green industry. And we have a relatively new plant science option, which is called natural products, which emphasizes both historical and cultural botany, economic botany, which is the study of the interaction of people and plants, indigenous and modern medicinal plants, and practical plant production. All students in our majors must take general biology, general chemistry, pre-calculus or higher math, ethics, soils, and the fundamental classes, intro to horticulture, plant science, and principles of botany. Each major option also has other required courses and electives. We have 4 minors, including plant science, agroecology, which is the study of ecological processes applied to ag production systems, horticultural therapy, which I'll talk about in just a second, and medicinal and economic botany. We have 4 certificates. A certificate is a little more credit intensive than a minor, and it's usually linked to some form of employment. So this includes plant biosecurity, which is safeguarding of U.S. agriculture and natural resources from the introduction of plant pests and noxious weeds. The Medicinal and Economic Botany certificate. Many students who complete the certificate have gone on to work in the medical marijuana industry. The Horticultural Therapy certificate prepares students to work in various settings where plants are used to help people. So folks in horticultural therapy employ plants, gardens, and greenhouses as tools for treating mental, physical, and social disabilities. And then finally, we have a certificate in turfgrass science that's designed for students with an interest in pest control or turfgrass management in landscapes, athletic fields, golf courses, and parks. So what can I do with my degree? Graduates in plant-related fields go into horticulture, plant production, farming, the turf industry, the chemical industry, seed companies, education, pharmaceuticals, plant biotech companies, plant breeding and plant research, and many go on to graduate school. My name and title and our website are listed there on the slide, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Thanks very much for your time today.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gould. Who knew plants could be so sexy, right, everybody? So before we jump into our question and answer, I know we are probably all very eager to ask specific questions about our programs and the academic life at the School of Environmental and Biological Sciences. And I wanted to just point out that the way that you can ask questions is by clicking on your chat icon, and you will send your questions to all panelists. So you can go ahead and start sending those questions to us, and we will begin to answer them live. And in the meantime, as you're typing away, I also wanted to give you all the option of telling us a little bit about yourself. So you heard from our 4 program directors, and you know some information about the majors that you may be potentially enrolling into, but we'd love to know where you're joining us from and which of these majors you're interested in applying into. So I'm going and enrolling into. So I'm going to be opening up a quick poll. So if you can, please answer it so that we can see where you're all from and visiting us from. Let's see. Right, so you have a few minutes there to answer the poll. And again, feel free to start typing those questions in our chat box so that we may answer them live.
Serafina, there are a couple of questions for animal science. May I start answering those questions?
Yes, I do see those questions, and I'm going to start them right after the poll is over. So don't worry, I do see them. Thank you so much. All right, so we have another 30 more seconds, and then we will just want to see where everyone is joining us from. Okay, another few more seconds for some folks who haven't started the poll. I see some folks haven't started. All right. All right, in a few seconds and the poll will end. All right. We're just gonna wait for a few more participants. The poll. My program directors, if you for now can just mute your cameras until we call you for Q&A, that'd be great. All right, let's see. All right. Can everyone see the individual poll results? Program directors, are you able to see the individual poll results?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yes.
So we see, as you can see here, we have some students who are, we have a hello, our guests from California and New York. We see Hunterdon County, West Orange, Middlesex, Blairstown, Old Bridge, Elmwood Park. We welcome you. Thank you so much for joining us. And here we see the majors of interest. Okay, so we have definitely our animal science, biochemistry. And I see biochemistry pre-med track. Okay, and then we have plant sciences. So great. I'm so glad that you're joining us. So we can go ahead and jump to the questions. I know we had some for the animal science program, but again, for those students who have questions for our biochemistry and our plant biology, please start typing those questions, and we're eager to get to them. As I shift screens here, me 1 second. All right, so I know we had one question here. My apologies. Sorry, I'm trying to put the presentation back on screen. All right. All right, so Dr. Zama, I know we had one question for you.
I see two questions.
You see them? Yep.
so
So I would like to state the question and then you can go ahead and answer. So I see the one question from Megan, who's asking about whether you have an option for students to engage in an experience for exotic animals. Because she sees that there's options for large and small animal experiences and wanted to know that she's interested in knowing, I'm sorry. She knows that a lot of veterinary schools like to have students that have experience with both exotic and large and small animals. So she wants to know if there are options for students to engage in experiences with exotic animals.
Right. So hi, Megan, to answer your question, the answer is yes. So vet schools, if you've been thinking about vet schools through the AVMA site, you could also go into the WMCUS portal, so the Veterinary Medical School Common Application site. So WMCUS will list all the prerequisite courses and the types of experiences you have to have on their website. If you compare that with the animal science curriculum, the pre-vet track, you'll realize that we go above and beyond in covering all the experiences as well as the curriculum. Now, veterinary school medical application requires you to have 3 different sets of experiences in addition to strong curriculum. Those experiences are working with a variety of species, as you mentioned, exotic, small animals, large animals, research with animals, and the third one is to work in a veterinary clinic to make sure that you have a realistic view of what professional life in the veterinary field would be. The Rutgers SEBS school, especially the George H. Cook campus, is unique in that we feel very rural and we have an expansive space. And if you visit here, you'll realize that it is just wonderful for the student experience. But more importantly, we have a very well-funded working teaching farm with various large animal species, livestock species that we breed and that we maintain and that we bring all the way to production. So students are able to work with animals and with a variety of species. We have practicums and animal handling classes, and it is done in a very structured way where you document all your hours so that they are ready to be put into your veterinary school application. So you can work each semester either handling or showing animals or getting more in depth into practicum courses where you're learning about the health and disease condition of these animals, doing husbandry. This is the season where coronavirus has really disrupted our plants because this is the lambing and kidding season. So you should check out the Rutgers Farm Instagram account and you'll see all the baby animals running around right here on campus. So you're able to get that experience there. You can also work with small animals, do lab animal practicum. You also have the ability to do research with a variety of species. Now, exotic species you can handle through the Department of Ecology, Evolution, Natural Resources, because they have various practical experiences there that you can explore. Per se, animal science does not keep any exotic animals to work with directly. The ENER program has you have people working with bats and snakes and animal behaviorists. So we work and partner with them. So you have the opportunity to work with exotics on this campus, but curriculum wise, animal science sticks with livestock species, small animals, lab animals, so on and so forth. Related to this question, I know, Serafina, you might get to this question, but I want to answer Paul's question. Paul, if you're listening, this is the big difference between us and UMass Amherst, in that our farm is right here. And whatever the students are doing on the farm to gain this animal experience, which is so critical to apply to vet school, is completely integrated into the student life, because the farm is not like at a 15-minute drive somewhere outside of the campus. It's integrated into the campus, and you can just take a bus, or some of the animal science students live in dorms right around the farm. So this gives a very great experience to our students, that they are able to work on the farm, take their classes, and have a very integrated experience. So we also have study abroad courses that students take. We have a great study abroad office that works with the students, gives scholarships to the students. And a lot of our students who work with exotic animals like jaguars and tapirs and all kinds of species, they go to Belize, they work on farms in some countries in Europe. They have the farm experience and exotic animal experience through the study abroad as well. Now, finally, students who are working in veterinary clinics over the summer or the winter break, we convert those credits into credits towards graduation. So you can document those hours and earn credits towards graduation through a program called SPIN, Student to Professional Internship Network. So we can talk about that later. But I hope that answers your question, Paul, because this is a big difference in terms of what we do here versus some of the other animal science programs.
Thank you so much, Dr. Zama. That was very comprehensive. And hopefully, Paul, if you have any follow-up questions, please send it to us on the chat, and we can then welcome Dr. Zama back so that she may clarify. At this moment, I know I see a question from Benjamin, and this is for Dr. White. The student is a transfer student, and they'd like to know a little bit more about the biochemistry major and the courses that they would be taking when they transfer over. Now, Benjamin, just to preface this prior to Dr. White joining to answer the question, just know that as a transfer student, you have to have your credits evaluated, whether you're coming from a community college or a four-year institution. And so each student's trajectory, once they begin at Rutgers in the respective major, may look different in terms of what courses you'll be taking. But I'll let Dr. White share a little bit more from her perspective working with transfer students.
What you said. It depends on when you're coming in. So you can technically transfer in with one semester of classes, right? Many of the students, though, that come to Rutgers and do like a full 2 years at community college usually come in, they do 2 years of community college, and they come in having had finished biology, chemistry, and usually organic chemistry. And that way, when they come in as juniors, they come in ready to take the general biochemistry course, which runs fall, spring, and requires that people take Orgo. So the long answer is, it really, as Serafina was saying, it really depends on where you're transferring from, and how many credits you have. But I guess I'm assuming, maybe I'm making the wrong assumption here, is this is a question about when you come in having finished 2 years at a community college. So, but most of the community college students that we have, we do transfer advising in the summer, and who knows? Hopefully we'll be doing that in person. And usually what we do is I come and I bring a couple other professors and a couple students, and we sit down with transfer students and go through their transcripts and work out the best schedule for them. So I hope that answers your question. If that didn't, just type in a clarifying comment and we'll see what we can do.
Thank you so much, Dr. White. I actually will follow up the next one with you as well, if you don't mind, since we already have you speaking. And Benjamin, yes, if there's anything more that you can provide to us that's more specific to your situation, please type it on the chat and we'll be more than glad to follow up and revisit that question. But I have a student, Andrea, wants to know if they're interested in majoring in biochemistry, but on the pre-med track. Can you share a little bit about how that would work for a student?
Truthfully, there is no difference in the sense that biochemistry, by and large, is a pre-med major for the reason that all the classes that one takes as a biochemistry major fulfill the prerequisites for a medical degree, medical application. That being said, what we do have, and I alluded to before, was we have tracks, and the tracks that we have are separated into, we have microbial biochemistry, we have biochemical toxicology, we have a proteins and enzyme, protein structure, and general option, which is anything, and we have a plant option, which is becoming more attractive. And is that it? Am I missing one? I think that's it. But a lot of our students who decide that they are really med school bound either choose to go for the biochemical toxicology option, because in that option there's a lot of it's heavier in the physiology and in sort of drug it kind of gets into sort of like the physiological impacts of drugs and other compounds. Or they do the microbial biochemistry option, because that option dovetails in with students who want to know more about infectious diseases and kind of how biochemistry relates to it. So it's sort of in and of itself, again, but a lot of students just do the general option, and that works well for them as well. So it sort of depends on your personal, interests going forward in your career.
Thank you so much, Dr. White. So at this moment, Dr. Morin, if you're available, we have a question from Mackenzie. And Mackenzie states that she's currently a transfer student who is majoring in bio and environmental sciences. And she wants to know who she would talk to about which classes she'll need to take and what tracks would be best for her in her goals in pursuing plant biology and agriculture and food systems. So Dr. Gould, you probably can jump in this one as well.
Yeah, so thanks very much for that question. And Dr. Gould and I work very closely, so you can talk with either of us. If it's agroecology that you're really interested in, there is a minor in agroecology as well. But when you first join us, we look at what courses you've taken and what your career goals are. And from that, courses like Intro to Horticulture, Plant Science. I teach an Intro to Agriculture and Food Systems course, which opens up all the other electives in our program. And so feel free to reach out to me directly. My email is here on the slide. And the courses that you will take will be a combination of plant science and agriculture and food systems. And know that if you choose one and later you find out that you want to do more in plant science, Dr. Gould and I work very closely to help you craft a program. Dr. Gould, do you want to jump in? And I think you're muted, so don't know if.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, Zania and I, Dr. Morin and I actually work in the same building. Isn't that convenient? I am more than happy to talk to students about the different opportunities we have in plant science, and Dr. Morin and I do work quite often together to try and find the best fit for our students. So feel free to send me an email and ask me questions, and hopefully someday I might actually get to meet you either at Admitted Students Day or sometimes sitting in my office having a chat.
Thank you so much, Dr. Morin and Dr. Gould. So at this moment, Dr. Zama, if you can join us back, we have a few questions for you. The first one, we have a student who's interested in knowing what percentage of students who apply to vet school are typically admitted. And then as a follow-up, we have another question from Paul asking, would I be able to perform research, be active on the farm as a freshman and sophomore, or is that work mostly done as a junior and senior?
Okay, two-part question. So the first question, the answer is 75 to 90% of our qualified applicants from the animal science program place into one or the other veterinary programs across the country. So that being said, what is this qualified, quote unquote, what does that mean? A GPA of 3.5 or more. Animal science has more than 500 students, and more than half of those 500 start with the pre-vet track, but not all of them apply to veterinary school. Once they learn about the rigors of vet school and what other career tracks there are that they could take other than vet school. So within those, the students who perform well in the rigorous curriculum, we have 75 to 90%. 90% comes from, in a given year, graduates from that same year who graduated in May and entering vet school in the fall, or graduated the prior year to the following year. So we have a pretty good admission rate. The second question, do freshmen have the ability to work on the farm? Yes, absolutely. The fall semester of the first year, you would be actually taken to the farm as part of the Intro to Animal Science course, and you'll be introduced not only to the activities on the farm, you'll also be introduced to basically all the professors who come and introduce themselves in the course, where they talk about their research, they talk about various areas of study, and you can keep up communication with them. In research, the way you land research in a lab is to set up direct communication with the professors. And as and when projects open up, they will onboard the students. And there is no limitation on first year or second year or third year like that. You can start as early as you are motivated. That being said, there are actual scholarships and fellowships that are given to first year students in the summer between first year and sophomore year. And you actually get a stipend. This is through a program called the RST Research Program, and you get paid to do research for 10 weeks. So it's an excellent opportunity. There are other such opportunities that we can go over once we finish this session. I can communicate with you on email. So the answer is 75 to 90% placement for the veterinary schools. And the second one is, yes, research with animals as well as various experiences with animals are most welcome for first year students. So there are no limitations like that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Zama. And actually, I would like to give Dr. Morin and Dr. Gould the opportunity to also answer the question about the farm, because we don't just have an animal farm. So I would like for them to be able to share a little bit more about experiences that students have and the research opportunities available within their programs on our hort farm that we have on campus.
So, and if it's okay, I'll start and then
Please do.
and take it from there. So we have a student farm that is out at Rutgers Gardens. It's a about 5-minute drive from campus. And our students get practical experience in producing vegetables for our community. Some of it goes to our farmers market and some of it goes to our local food bank, as well as our food pantry, student food pantry. This is a summer program that is competitive and people can get internships in that. We also have greenhouses as well, where a lot of our students first embark on their research, and usually taking a course like Intro to Horticulture is the starting point before entering a lab. There are also other horticultural fields and some of our extension sites that are located throughout the New Jersey, and many of our students get hired there. Entomology also has a program in its integrated pest management, and students can have experience with that, as well as our forests. So Anne, do you want to talk a bit more about the lab experiences or research experiences?
Right. So
Science.
sciences it's a huge discipline, and students that are interested in plant sciences. Some may want to work in a laboratory for maybe a program that resides in Foran Hall, which is where our offices and labs are. Others want to get their hands dirty and work out in the field. We have facilities in Adelphia, North Brunswick, Snyder Farm, Cream Ridge, Upper Deerfield, and then down in South Jersey in Chatsworth as well. And these types of facilities are excellent for students that want to learn maybe perhaps how to breed plants for better disease or insect resistance, or they might want to learn more about growing plants, or maybe learn a little bit about wine grapes, or lots of the different kinds of programs that a lot of our faculty have at these different research stations around the state. We also have a really strong turf grass science program here at Rutgers, and they do quite a bit of field research at a turf farm, which is just outside of Cook campus over in North Brunswick. So students that work in that area have an opportunity to study out in the field and to do lab work. We also have a pretty strong breeding program and in the greenhouse as well. So students have the opportunity to work inside or outside, depending on whether or not they want to get their hands dirty. One thing that we haven't really talked very much yet today is the experience-based education requirement that we have for our majors here at SEBS. Zania, do you want to address that, or would you like me to?
Why don't you start and I'll fill in.
Okay, so in the school there is an opportunity for students to participate in some kind of a research or internship project. That's more of a scholarship for, we want to think about it as an out of classroom scholarly activity. This type of work is done for credit. And one of the first questions that my students often have when they come talk to me is, how do I find my experience-based education project, and who do I talk to? And so we help students get sort of situated either in the field or in the greenhouse or in the laboratory setting to find out, to explore what is it they think they would like to do. And once they get into these experiences, is that really where they want to go? So, Zania?
Yeah, so in the Agriculture and Food Systems program, some of our students are budding entrepreneurs, and they've been able to work on developing elements of their business. We had one student recently start a cut flower business and run that through the summer as part of his experience-based education and then independent study. We've had students who have worked in the floriculture greenhouse and in the strawberry breeding program, for instance. So there are many faculty who are very keen and eager to engage students, and they can be freshmen all the way through their senior year. I always tell students to think about these practicum experiences as a way to test drive possible jobs when they leave. And so some of our students also get internships off campus and build on educational and employment opportunities that are available to them as well. So we try to individualize that as much as possible. We want you to be successful and be able to leave at the end of your time at the School of Environmental and Biological Sciences to be able to get a job or to go on to graduate school. So part of our strength is in advising and helping you to figure out who are the people in our community that you need to get to know. So with Seraphine,
Thank you so much, Dr. Morin. And lastly, we have some outstanding questions for Dr. White. So if you could join us, we have students asking if you can expand a little bit more on the various areas of biochemistry and how much research opportunities are offered through the school year. And we also had another question regarding one of your previous comments where you spoke about the applications of scientific methods in biochemistry, and if you can expand on that in your answer.
Okay, so they're kind of intertwined. So okay, I'm trying to think of like how to, all right, so by different areas, I'm assuming we're referring to the, when I was talking about how it integrates with all the different areas. And by this, I mean, a lot of our students who are biochemistry majors, when they do their experience-based education, they don't necessarily just do it in our department. Although our department does have quite a variety of different types of researchers. We have a professor who does work on pathogenic organisms, Dr. Cooper, who's shown in this picture, does work on environmental toxins. I'm a developmental toxicologist. We also have a bioinformatician in our department who looks at big data and how we can use big data to ask important medical questions. And so that's just our department, but the reality is a lot of our students will do research in plant science. They do the research in animal science. They do the some of them go over to the medical school. We have quite a few students that do their experience in the Cancer Institute or in, I had one student who did it in the neuro department of the medical school where they were looking at ways to develop regeneration after spinal cord injury. And we have students that do it in the pharmacology department looking at impacts of drugs and the biochemistry underlying that. So the point from a research and experience base, the biochemistry major actually supports experience in a variety of different areas all over campus, and our students do their experience pretty much wherever it suits their ultimate goals. Like I often tell students, if you think you want to work in the pharmaceutical industry or some related industry, sometimes you're better off doing your experience in an internship, like at Bristol Myers, at Novartis, at one of those companies around here. They do take our students as interns. But if you want to go to med school, students will often do their experience-based education in a more medically related research avenue. Over at the actual med school, in the Cancer Institute, in places like that. And then some of our students are interested in more basic concepts of biochemistry, and they sometimes will do their research in, like there's a lot of labs over on the other campus that look at, they use different model systems. I use zebrafish. Some people use C. elegans. Some people use Drosophila, asking basic questions of how animals develop and how how you can manipulate things genetically. So that's kind of what I meant by the breadth of it. And the second question, I completely forgot. But I know the specifics of it. I'm trying to remember what the specific question was.
If you can talk about research opportunities at biochemistry and how early a student can get involved in research. I believe that was the question.
Okay, so as far as how early, I often tell students that earlier the better, in the sense that a lot of students will feel like, oh, they get this bad advice that says, oh, you can't go into a lab until you've taken biochemistry. You can't go into a lab until you've taken orgo. The truth is, many people will take people in their labs as freshmen, as sophomores. And so if you have a real interest in really getting into a lab and really getting to know and being able to become an independent researcher on your own, the earlier you can get in, the more successful you're going to be at that. The students who wait until their senior year are often at a disadvantage because they're competing for spots, and sometimes they don't get the place they want to get into. And also, I always say that right now, you guys, although during our current state, it's a little bit different, but even still, there's this thing called senioritis that goes around sometimes this time of year. And so sometimes people don't want to take people on in their senior year because they feel like they're not really going to be paying 100% attention to the research in the lab. And so people are more excited to take on sophomores and juniors into their lab. So I always tell people, start thinking about getting in your sophomore, junior year at the latest. Don't wait till your senior year. But you can, as far as how early you can start, I mean, I've known plenty of students that have started when they're freshmen. It just takes a little bit of, you have to kind of get up and figure out what you want to do a little bit quicker than others. That's all.
Thank you so much, Dr. White. So at this moment, I would love to do a quick wrap up and give the floor to Dr. Zama to give some last minute words or a message to the students who joined us today about the program. And then we'll move to Dr. White again with you, and then we'll follow with Dr. Morin and Dr. Gould.
So this is my message from animal science, that the curriculum that we have is very flexible to suit a lot of different interests. And the main thing that we don't talk about here is that you may think you want to go into vet school, you may want to work with animals, but even as you are going towards that path, the curriculum that we have for you is all about science, biology, chemistry, upper level science elective. So it qualifies you to enter all kinds of different health professions, things that you may not have heard of or thought about. You don't know what you don't know, right? So we spend a lot of time with our students going over different career options early in their time in the program, so that they can really craft a career path, and take all the appropriate electives that they're wanting to take, explore new passions. So there is so much information out there, and we try to provide that information, but seek it out. And Rutgers is a big place, SEBS is smaller, and the animal science program is even smaller compared to Rutgers. And if you seek out information, you will find some pretty amazing things. So keep an open mind, and we hope to see you here on campus in the fall.
Thank you so much, Dr. Zama. And again, everyone, Dr. Zama's email is right here below on the PowerPoint. So feel free to jot it down, take a picture, and get in contact with her if you have any other questions that you were unable to think of today, anything that comes to mind. They always come to you every time that the presentation ends or you walk out of a room. So feel free to reach out to her. She's very approachable and willing to assist you. So Dr. White, if you could join us again for some last minute, a quick message or
wash your hands. Wash your hands. No, seriously though. I mean, Dr. Zarmak mentioned this. I'd like to just reiterate it. The nice thing about SEBS that I always say is that we have a small college feel but we're in with big university opportunities. So the great thing about being on our campus is that, from a research perspective, you really do have the world, there's a huge number of different researchers you can go, different places you can go, different topics you can research on. But the school itself is smaller. You really do get to know your professors, you get to know your fellow students. And we do really take a lot of pride, I think, overall. All our majors take a lot of pride in helping students and advising students so that they can make the really best choices for them going forward in their lives. And, like Dr. Zarma said, sometimes this means learning about new career paths that you weren't aware of before. Sometimes it means finding out that you would rather be in a different major and helping you, facilitating you kind of moving into that major. But the great thing is, since it's a small place, we really do get to know our students. I mean, in that picture below on my slide, I'm actually still in contact with 3 or 4 of the students in that picture and they graduated like 5 years ago or something like that. So we really do get to know our students and really do as a whole on this campus, I think. And that's really one of the nicer aspects of our campus, going forward. And as far as our major is concerned, like Dr. Zarma said, my email is down there. I think it was on the original slide. I don't know if it's on this one because I have something's blocked.
You can always send it to the students.
Okay, but it's also on the website. I always add this caveat though. If you email me, any professor, they do not get back to you immediately. Do not take it personally. It is not because we're ignoring you or we hate you or that we don't want to answer your question. Oftentimes it's because we got 8 million emails that day and we just lost your email in the deluge. I always tell people that if you send an email and you don't get a response back in a couple of days, 2 or 3 days, maybe a week, and you feel perfectly comfortable emailing me back and prefacing it by saying, Dr. White, I emailed you last week, and I'll be honest with you, it shames me a little bit and it makes me respond to you right away. Now, if people start doing that on their first email, that'd be kind of funny. But I just don't want people to think that sometimes we miss emails and it's not because we don't care being responsive. It's just because, like everybody, we get a little overwhelmed. And right now we're even more overwhelmed with the online world. So just, nudge us again if we don't get back to you. And we'll do our best to answer your questions.
Thank you so much, Dr. White. So, Dr. Moran, do you have any words for the students?
Yeah, I think one of the things that I try to do very much in my program is build community. We have about 50 students, 55 students in the Agriculture and Food Systems program. Our students get to know one another, and recently I had a reunion of some graduates who hadn't seen each other for a little bit and started working together and opened up new opportunities. As our other speakers have said, the faculty work closely together, and we work hard to make your experience here at the School of Environmental and Biological Sciences a really positive one that sets you up for a very successful future. And our advising is strong, our interest in our students is strong, and I would certainly encourage all of you to come in ready to take advantage of all the wonderful things that we have to offer. With that, I'll hand it off to Anne.
So the plant sciences are huge. It's a huge discipline. We have faculty that work in a lot of different areas. I want you to know that I'm here to speak with you and help you figure out what your personal and career goals might be and help you make those critical decisions that you will need to move forward in this pretty cool discipline. So contact me if you need to. Thanks.
Thank you so much, everyone. We are, again, just very grateful that you are all able to join us and ask your questions. I know there may be questions, again, that may come up, and myself and the deans at the Office of Academic Programs and the program directors are here to assist you. I know that this is a difficult time with deciding, where you're going to be enrolling to college with these circumstances and the current coronavirus crisis. However, just know that we are here. We understand what you're going through, and we want to support you in any way possible. So we're open to speaking with you via phone, email, and if you also visit sebs.rutgers.edu, you can also chat with one of our deans and individuals from our office live through a live chatting option that's called Talk to Us from 8:30 to 5 o'clock, Monday through Fridays Eastern Time. So again, connect with us, email us. We're here to support you, and stay open, stay curious, and ask lots of questions. And we hope to see you and meet you soon. Take care. And again, as Dr. White said, wash your hands. Have a great day, and we look forward to connecting with you further.
Bye.
Bye.